Um, I've been a professional musician for a while, and I'm quite involved in mainstream music. I play mainstream music for a living, but I'm a big supporter of the independent scene music, because I believe there's a lot of music that is being created but doesn't get the support that it's needed. We have a lot of awesome authors that get discouraged because they they can't really get their art to shine and to reach other people. So the Cover Estemian initiative, basically, it's very simple. Since we have a very big music community here, and we have an open mic community, and also with the Songwriters Challenge that Meno created, um, there was suddenly like a big rush of original music created here in the Steemit platform. Um, so I wanted to support the authors of these songs. So what I did was this little initiative in which you ask a particular musician that you like or you would like to support, and then you cover one of his songs or her songs, and then you pledge for SBD or Steam to send it to that particular Steamian. And so far, I've had well, it's a small contest. I've had like around maybe 8 or 9 people come in, and what I found amazing about this is that all the nice comments that artists are giving to each other. It's like it's not so much about the SBD, but more about going open and saying to another artist, I like your music, I like what you do, I love your song, so I performed it with respect. Here it is, and you know what? Here's some money.
Well, and that's what it is. I've said so many times that the creators or and let's we can generalize it. We can say creatives. You know, people, whether it is art, whether it is poetry, it doesn't matter. People that have that need, that desire, that thirst to be creating should I guess get their drive from that need. There's a saying. It's not mine. I don't know whose originally it is. That one of the things that we need in life is to basically leave a mark. So the very first necessity it is to breathe, to eat, all those the very basic level, and then we have the one which is to procreate and continue, I guess, our genetic code. But the third one, and this might happen afterwards, when society became so complex, is to create, to leave something behind, so that when we're long gone, there's some footprints left in the sand. So everybody who does original music, to me, understands that in one way or another. They might have a different analogy for it, but they get that these little footprints that they leave in the sand, even if they're not gigantic, even if they don't become the next freaking, Quincy Jones or James Taylor, it doesn't matter. They're doing what they want to do because it's in their heart, and that is their driver. And so, in that sense, what you're doing is awesome because you're kind of acknowledging somebody else's drive to do that, saying, hey, I recognize this thirst that you have. I recognize this drive. I recognize this element of you. I acknowledge it and I support it. And here's some SBD. And the SBD is more symbolical. Now, that being said, it could also have a huge payout and that would be amazing. But that's just icing on the cake, you know?
Of
So
course.
I love the idea. I think
Um,
it's great.
and for example, I've had a couple Steamians that, for example, Gina Easy just covered the Steambirds,
Oh, did she?
and
I saw
yeah,
that.
That's
and she did
awesome.
a parody of a parody, which
That is
I found
awesome.
great.
Yeah, it was a cracker.
Yeah, yeah. Because she covered the Crypto Girls, and she brought a friend over and she made a song called Crypto Dudes,
That's
and she
awesome. I
changed
have
the
to.
lyrics a little bit, and actually the Steambirds got a kick out of it, and they wrote back with some really nice comments for her.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. She's actually from Australia too. I don't know if you knew that, Crystal, but she's from here, the land of down under
Well,
too.
she is
By
in
the way,
Australia.
Crystal,
She's not
hello, my
actually
friend.
Australian. Hello, Menno. How you going, mate?
Hello.
Hey, PT.
Hello,
She was in
Crystal.
here, but she was being all quiet. She was trying to be all ninja on us, Patchy.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, I'm adjusting on the go because I wanted to just start it, and then I would get different like troubles and bumps in the road, and I would correct them. So I recently started a song pool, which means that whatever Steamian wants to quote unquote donate the repertoire, and just put it out there, so anybody else can cover it. I'm creating a list, so you don't have to go and ask for permission. It's already pre-approved.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that idea.
That's a really good idea as well. I really like it. I first saw Steamians cover one another with Tara by Fergus and Basil
And
Marples,
Basil
and
Marples.
that was freaking awesome to watch that unfold.
Yeah,
And I think having a place for people to go to sort of initiate that, because I know there's a lot of nervousness from open micers about approaching other ones, like, oh, covering someone's song. I hope that, I don't want them to be upset. I hope they like it. There's nerves. So having a place, a post, an organization, what you're creating for them is a really great way to start it up in into some big numbers. I think you're gonna start to get slammed, mate.
yeah. What I have found in reactions is that actually it's a big icebreaker, because it you must interact with the Steamian you want to cover, and
Which is
that's
also a good point to make, right? Because we think, and I get it. We think, oh, you know what? I am gonna succeed on Steam with my songs, and that part is partially true. The second element of it is I need to find my tribe in order to succeed on Steam with my songs. And that second part sometimes it's missed. So that's why I kind of like this initiative more, because it's like a little bit of mental reprogramming. It's kind of like, okay, you know what? Let's not get into this whole debate, into this whole fear of like, oh, I don't want people making money with my music. If people make money with my music, no, let's let that go. Let's release that fear. Let's enjoy each other. You know what I mean? Let's. I love that idea. I think it's fantastic. Now,
and actually a couple of days ago, someone wrote to me. I'm not gonna spoil it, but somebody wants to cover one of my songs, and that's like, I really want to hear that. It just makes me happy. The idea that somebody wants to play my music.
exactly.
Oh, look in chat, guys. I think we're going to have a cover of Melody doing a Painting Angels song.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I
I
really
would
hope
really
you guys
love
do
to
it.
hear that.
I would love to hear that. So it has to be back and forth, right? That's a rule. Like Melody covers Serena, Serena covers Melody. That's kind of the game.
It doesn't really have to be that way, but it's happening naturally.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So
it's not a rule, but at least 90% of the people that have participated, for example, Sassler covered Gina Easy, and now Gina Easy covered Sassler. And I had a user called Adam, who goes with the user Juxta Music. He covered John Magnuson, and he covered him back. It's not a rule, but it's what's happening.
no, but I love it. I think I mean that's what happened with Hero and with Basel, and I thought it was genius. I love
Yeah,
it.
they started the whole. I mean, I mentioned it in the first post when I launched the initiative, is that they were the inspiration for this. And actually, Basil approached me and he wanted me to add his song "Lost in Waiting," which was the song that started it all. He approached me and he told me, okay, you have to add that song to the sample.
Awesome.
So big props to Basil.
Yeah, I think that's genius.
So
Hey,
I'm hoping it catches up. It's starting quite slow, but I have at least one or two Steamians covering each other per week. So
well, this
at
doesn't
least
have
it.
to end, right? There's no date for this. It's not like okay, we're going to do this for until this day, and then that's it. We're done. You can continue it forever.
No, yeah, it's always open. I hope it picks up to a point that
Crystal, let
if
me ask you something, Crystal, because you're being too quiet. Did you ever play those games of like two lies and one truth, or two truths and one lies, all those things?
I'm not sure about two truths and one lies. Sorry, no.
Boy, I'm not sure that's the one either, but um, there's this, or like the 7 day photo challenge, all those things that people were playing. There are little
Yep, yep,
games.
yep.
I wonder. This is a question for like everybody to ponder. Whoever's listening to this recording, or if anyone wants to wonder, what makes those things take off? Because it's like we can say, okay, let's make a challenge. Okay, let's make a challenge. Stick a French fry up your nose and say and count to 10, right?
I
And
can
and
do
and this
that.
is gonna be my new challenge, right? And then I make this video and I make it stupid funny and all of a sudden, for some reason, not that I know the formula, people go like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stick a French fry up my nose, count to 10. This is the new thing. Let's do it for the awareness of puppies. And all of a sudden, people are doing it left and right, and you're wondering, okay, who like, what made that take off? And I don't know. Is it because it's stupid? Is it because it's ridiculous? I have no idea. The tide challenge, the pot tides. You know what that is, Crystal? Just mentioned that.
That's planking 2.0.
No, blanking. There's nothing wrong with blanking. Actually, I just did a photo of blanking.
Apparently, people died planking,
Well,
like
that's
at
because
least here in Australia,
well they
because they're morons.
they
Okay,
planked on
like
top of a
that's.
gator. Really?
I don't know what the fuck that. I think they planked on the edge of a balcony rail, and they fell off the balcony and
Oh my god.
died. So
What?
yeah, I mean, it's just stupid people doing stupid stuff, sort of with Tide Pod. um,
Yeah,
I
the
don't
type
know
of. You
what
know what
makes
that is,
something
Penchi? Penchi
go
doesn't know what
so
it is.
viral like that.
No, I don't know what it is.
Basically, there's a laundry liquid that comes in a covering that you can bite down on, and it bursts chemicals into your mouth. And apparently, a whole bunch of people are like, let's do this because we're fucking morons and we want to get poisoned. People, I think, have died again because they've ingested concentrated laundry chemicals, and then there's the ripple on effects of people doing memes on the Tide Pod challenge and people trying to show them cooked into pizza, and it I don't understand how the human mind works, and I can't always tell when people are being sarcastic about their presentation of it or if they're really going to do it. But I mean, I saw like a 40-plus-year-old woman do it.
What is that? Like
This isn't just children. It's ridiculous.
now they're trying to vape Tide Pods. Okay, so here's what we need. We need to find
What?
out who is the genius mastermind that makes people go like all these things go viral, like stupid stuff, and tell them, hey, listen, here's what I want to do. We want to grow the music community. We have this idea. Do your Tide Pod magic on this, and I don't know what it could be.
Maybe we have people covering others with a
Wearing a
French
hat.
fry in their nose,
There you go.
and there you have the middle ground.
So okay, so it's cover a Steamian. Rules to cover a Steamian. The first one: stick a French fry on your
French
left
fry and
nostril. Uh,
exactly.
yeah, that's the first rule. The second rule: your shirt has to be green.
Yeah.
Like, just make up some weird rules so that people go like, "Oh my god, this is so stupid. I'm gonna do it," and all of a sudden, that's it. It's taken over.
Well,
Look, it
if
just showed
Nathan is
up.
here, that means I need to get out.
All right, Benji, it was awesome having you. I really hope this takes off. Hopefully, this recording, this little thing that we're doing right now, it's going to help get more steam. And I do intend upon behind this initiative because I think it's fantastic. It's going to bring a lot of more musicians together. So hopefully, it takes off.
It really is, yeah.
I'm launching it for the Hispanic community in the next days. I already have the cover I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the whole thing again in Spanish. Because me being a Spanish speaker, I guess I also want to help the Spanish community,
Oh, you
which
speak
is quite
Spanish?
big. Oh, I think so.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Today, Benji, they confused Benji with a girl again. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
if you see a little cute little pig, I don't know, to some people that must be a chick.
Maybe I don't know. My avatar is a pig, a pink pig, and my
Maybe you should
nickname
be.
ends with an A.
Yeah. Well,
So maybe.
that's the reason behind my nickname. I've told the story so many times. Maybe I'll tell it again.
Yeah. Because we're Mena.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Benji.
But I honor my family, not like you, traitor.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna move you
I'm
back
out.
to the
See ya,
audience.
guys. I'm gonna be in the audience.
All right,
You
Bye-bye.
Nathan, you're here, brother. So tell me, did you connect the Kachuper to the Coambulator to the T1000 EQ, and then it goes back to the cable that you made yourself into the drum set, connected to the guitar, and that loops back into the feedback of the reverb, or no?
Good answer.
That's a perfect answer there.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, my brother. Yes, it does. How are you, bro? How are you doing today? Hey, I gotta tell you guys, before both of you start talking, last time we had Trevor here, and it was awesome. Trevor is a swell guy. The conversation went a little too Aussie for me. So, if you sense that I'm getting lost...
It went too Aussie for me.
Oh, yeah? If you sense that I'm getting lost,
Never
say...
was it.
Yeah, you just go like, okay, let me Americanize it a little bit. Let me use a couple words. Because if you all of a sudden notice that I'm getting quiet, it's not because I'm being respectful. It's because I'm like, I don't know what they're saying. And I'm trying to figure it out.
We're happy to translate.
Yeah.
Preach. No
To be
worries.
fair, most fluent English speakers get really baffled when they deal with Aussies talking together in slang. It can get a little overwhelming. We don't know what words you don't know.
It's like colloquialism on steroids and acid, mixed with really bad enunciation. So
Pretty much, yeah. That's yeah. That's it.
right. Yeah. Anyway, it's good to be here. I can't believe the timing and everything, right? So, I took my baby girl to the zoo. I got back, got her to bed in time to be able to sort of set this up. And she went to sleep. Normally, she takes ages to go to sleep. So we're winning. We're winning. Hopefully, she sleeps for 2 hours now.
Nice.
So listen, Nathan, now that you can hear me,
Yeah.
I got all the difficult questions because today we are going to talk about music because, of course, that's what the whole thing is about music. But I'm going to ask you difficult philosophical questions because I sensed from our conversation last time and also some of the things that you've said, I sensed that you are a heavy thinker. You're somebody that just like sits there and thinks until it hurts about things.
I enjoy thinking. It doesn't hurt.
Well, that's an expression, though. But you know what I mean? Because last time, see, I don't know. Were you here, Crystal? I can't remember if you were here. The last time, we did the show, and then we went into overtime, right? And then we started talking, and then
into pirate mode, yeah.
Yeah, and then we started. We went to pirate.
I was in the audience more than on radio.
That is correct, Crystal. That's what happened.
That's right.
And we were going. We were going deep.
Philosophical.
Yeah, we were going deep.
And we nosedived into political, and I think that was...
Yeah, man. And then what happened? You know what happens when you go into political? All of a sudden, labels started to come out, and they're like, "No, that was not the conversation. That's not where we were somewhere else." And then we couldn't get it back. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, when Nathan comes to the show, we're going to stick to philosophical because I know that he's a I and I could be wrong about this, Nathan, but it is my impression that you're not somebody who's interested too much in politics as you are interested in the philosophy of life, right?
No. I've been very heavily political most of my life, as well as philosophical. I don't see the two as being diametrically opposite. The problem is that in political talk, people are heavily opinionated, and especially in the climate that we live in now with social media. So arguments happen and misunderstandings. Lots of things get misconstrued. But no. I've been a serious activist since I was a teenager.
I guess to clarify what I'm saying, it's not so much that I don't think you care about politics. I know you do, but it's more like you don't care too much about the labels and about belonging to some sort of tribe. Like, oh, I am. Well, in the case of America, I am a Democrat. I am a Republican. It's more like the issues.
Party system. But I guess for me to come to any kind of for politics to reach any kind of equitable kind of place for humanity, it needs to come from a deeply philosophical and spiritual place. And
I can agree with that.
And so, all of the isms, I noticed that Kate just said, a comment about capitalism. All of those isms, whether it be communism, capitalism, all of those kind of things, if there's not some deeper philosophical, spiritual element to us human beings, if we haven't evolved to that point, then none of those isms are going to work anyway. That's where I come from. With my politics, it needs to have, you need to come from yourself first. I mean, it needs to be a self-inquiring kind of place for us to heal as a race,
really. Yeah, it's
and for us as humanity.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree with that 100%. I kind of knew that me and you kind of think alike from the little short conversation we managed to have before we went into the labels thing. When we went into so define. Okay, what did you use? Okay, so define it. Before we went into there, I was like, oh yeah, I like where we're going. This is the right spot. So let me ask you this, because obviously this show is about music. You told me you've been an activist. Can I ask you then, what song do you have of yours in your repertoire that you could say is the one that has the most activism, if that even makes sense, out of all of them? The one that is like a message to humanity, the one that you're most proud of?
Oh God, that's like saying.
I told you I was going to put you on the spot, man.
That is a tough call, yeah.
It's like, no, this kid is smarter. That one's dumb. You sit in the corner with the dunce hat, you little shit.
Yeah, man. I told you I was going to put you on the spot. I always put people on the spot.
It's a good question. Mm-hmm. And the reason it's a hard question to answer is because it would need to be a song that's perhaps, like the Mahabharata. It needs to be like 21 hours long.
That's true.
To encapsulate everything that needs to be put in there. So different songs actually, capture different elements of my philosophical, artistic, political, environmental, you name it, perspectives, right? And so any one song's not going to be able to do that. There's some songs that sort of hint at it, but then you start getting at like high school level philosophy or high school level politics. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Not to put those down, but you can only sort of.
You know what's funny about that, Nathan? I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like that about my own stuff. It's like when I wrote it, the moment I wrote it, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was, the best thing ever. And then a few years down the line, even though nobody thinks this way, I think it's crap. And not that I think it's crap. I just think it's not good enough. I'm like, no, I can do so much better.
That's a very common thing for an artist. That's a very common thing for any kind of artist, let alone a songwriter or a music artist. I mean, put that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Try that and record it onto an album, and then try and live with with some of those songs. Like I've recorded a number of albums over the years, and
Yeah, exactly my point. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to draw a line and let something be and live with it. Or sometimes you go, wow, this is you're caught up in the rosy. It's like you're having a love affair. You know when you first meet a lover and it's all rose-colored glasses and nothing they can do, everything they do has no flaws. It's always perfect, and you're just like, wow, and you're making love all the time. And songs can be like that. Songs can be like, especially when you're recording, you go, wow, oh God. And then 2 weeks later, you go, oh God, 6 months later. Depends on the song.
It was just one night of creative passion.
You don't have to see them again. but with a song recorded on an album, you have to listen to it and go, oh, fuck, I can hear that little thing that I didn't.
Oh, man.
Mistake, or that
all
little
the time.
thing that it might not be a mistake, but it might be not quite finished. I find a lot of my recorded music, not a lot, but a portion of it is like an unfinished painting. It's like I had, especially as an independent artist, it's like, okay, I only had the finances to afford, the primary paints and a canvas, and I did the sketch and I painted about a quarter of the way through and then run out of paint. You know what I mean?
100%. And there's a thing that somebody said to me in engineering, producing and engineering, that I try to apply to my life, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about. You never finish a track; you just abandon it. You go like, okay, this is as good as I'm going to get it now. For the sake of being practical, I'm going to move on, because if you just keep on polishing, and then you also go into this thing. I don't know if it happens to you, where you're working on a track, and you think you're making it better, but then you say, okay, I'm gonna step away.
You're digging a pit and making it worse. Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, man, I destroyed it. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Like my first album, I recorded it in 2 weeks and mixed it recorded in 1 week and mixed it in 2. And then the next album, I recorded and mixed the whole thing in 2 days.
And that one sounds better, right?
No, they both have flaws and they both have beauty. But I just want, as an artistic choice, and also a financial choice, I couldn't fucking afford it again. I was in debt.
Right? Yeah, we have to make those, right?
So you sometimes have to make those choices based on that.
Yeah.
But, there was some magic in the 2-day recording for sure. That you can overthink and you can overplay in a longer, if you take time. Someone else said, I just saw a comment just before, because I'm listening. I'm trying to keep abreast of what people are asking. Philodendron said, you love it at first, but how can't you hate it after playing it millions of times? That is a really, it's something that a lot of obviously big name artists get too with their big pop hits or whatever, right? Their big rock hits. And I think as a musician, you need to reinvent it. You need to almost do a cover of your own song in your own new way. And so there's some songs that just love being what they are and they don't ever want to change. But most of the songs that I've written over the years, they like to change and grow, just like we people like to change and grow. And if you don't allow it to change, I remember hearing an interview with years and years ago with Billy Joel saying he hates Uptown Girl, like he fucking hates it.
You're kidding me.
Which just blows my mind. But yeah, I remember hearing about that as well.
I did not know that.
Right. Now, but that's an interesting point, because it's a fucking annoying song, right? And it was his biggest hit. And yet he'd already had hits for like almost 2 decades by that stage. So he would have known that was going to smash it. And he earned the millions off it. And he gathered even more fans from it, right? So why does he have to play it the same? He can reinvent that song, I heard there's an artist here in Australia called Diesel that I supported for a few shows, and lovely guy. And he had some really big hits over here. And I had a lot of judgment. I came to the first show thinking, oh God, I can't believe I'm supporting Diesel. This is I don't know why I said why I thought that, but I did.
By the way, this is getting recorded. I don't know if you know that. Just putting it out there. Diesel's gonna be like, oh yeah, man, that's right.
even if he heard it, I'd be happy to say this because
Okay.
I was kind of, there'd been a stigma that once the 90s hit, any artist that was successful in the 80s just were like, you don't touch them. They're just like, you know, and he was one of those artists. He sunk. I think his last successful album was actually the last successful album was like 91. And there was a lot of really poppy rock hits on that, catchy tunes. Anyway, he knows he has to play them. It's not fair to fans to not play your hits, right? But he totally reinvented. It was just him. I'm glad I didn't see him with his band. It was just him on his own, mostly with a small 12-string guitar. And 12 strings usually big, but this one was small. And mate, he reinvented those hits. I didn't even recognize them at first, and they were beautiful.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to listen.
That's what I think. That's what I think a good artist should do. A good artist should be able to get their songs and find a way to make them beautiful again, because they were beautiful once, and maybe the form just needs to change. You know, it's like even in a lover relationship, when you're in a long-term relationship, you can't expect to be relating the same way you were in the first 6 months or a year. And so you need to see your partner through fresh eyes. You know, as we get to know someone, just like with our family or whatever, we get to know their behavioral patterns. We get to know what they react to and what, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And that stops them from being able to be a fresh new being every new day.
Yeah.
And that is not good for your relationship. A way to keep the relationship juicy is to try and see them through fresh eyes. Not to ignore the observations you've made, but just because they have a certain behavioral pattern doesn't mean they will always 100% always behave that way.
Yeah.
They might surprise you, but they can't surprise you if you just assume that they're always going to behave that way. And I think that's the same with music.
That's a great analogy. I really like it. Treating the songs like you have an intimate relationship with each one of them, and you're trying to make sure that relationship stays alive. So if you don't like something about that song, why not, you know, beautify it one more time? I like that. I think that's a great analogy. Great advice, really.
And like a relationship, sometimes you need a bit of space from each other. So sometimes I've let songs go for a while, and then I've come back to them and gone, oh, okay. I love you again, you know, and that's okay. That's necessary too sometimes. Space is beautiful.
Betty says, invite the song for a beer. Yeah.
You know, with a like I'm thinking of my first album, and I got a lot of people that really, you know, a lot of supporters. I'll use that word. That love that album or love certain songs on that album, and I hated that album for years.
You're kidding.
I fucking hated it. And, you know, because I grew and changed and I didn't even play a lot of that style anymore. And then there was one time when someone else who really loved those songs and loved that album was talking to me about those songs. And then I thought I should fucking well listen to that again. And I listened to it through fresh ears. And it was a beautiful surprise. I kind of, you know, I felt a lot of love for those songs again and that album and where I was at that point and where I've grown from, you know.
Well, but that's something that has happened to me not too often. I have to confess, there's a lot of songs of mine that I have not touched ever again. But there's a couple that I went back and I had I don't know. It's almost like you're looking back in time and you can remember not just the events but the emotional state, and that melancholy has some value. So you can draw from it one more time. So that doesn't happen too often, though. I have to confess, but I have not done that consciously. It's not like, oh, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go. I have a lot of music. I've written, not to say everything is good. Possibly most of it is crap, right? But I've probably written 300 and something songs over my life because for me, it's therapy.
Nice.
So I would go back and listen, and most of the time I would just be like, ugh. What was I thinking? Ugh. Oh my God, that sounds so innocent. But every now and then, when I go back into my little repertoire, I find things and I go like, man, I remember that. Yeah,
gems.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
I should revisit that.
You know, a lot of successful people and a lot of success gurus talk about writing journals right? And I've always been fucking shit at that. Every time I've tried to do it,
Yeah.
I'll do a few days and then months pass and I'm like, oh, yeah, whatever. But my songbook is full of songs and drawings. I do portraits. I draw portraits.
You're kidding me? I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea either. That should be on Steam too.
I'll see if I can find something and post it up, and then you can have a look. And so my books are filled with poetry and songs, and sometimes a dream here and there, sometimes an event, all of that kind of stuff. But it's a songbook, not a journal in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
And some of the songs that are written, I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs, and also hundreds of, like probably thousands of choruses here and there and verses and all that kind of stuff that have just written partial songs,
Yeah, Petchy has a ton of those too.
Now, the thing is that a vast majority of the songs I write aren't meant for anybody else's ears. They're my process. They're me processing an emotion. They're me enjoying sound frequencies and putting words together and just writing a song. And they may be really shit. I mean, I've got I've been writing songs since I was a little kid, and I can remember some of those songs and I go, oh, that's embarrassing. But hey, I was 11 years old. Come on. Right?
I have one that is super embarrassing. I think there's a recording of it somewhere too. Well, we've been having some crazy technical issues, and there's no tech around. Well, Petchy was, but he was actually live too, and that's why it's going to be short. So it's going to be really like an hour, maybe an hour and change instead of 2 hours. But my guest tonight is Nathan Kaye, and he's going to be performing some live tracks. We got him all set up. He's ready to go. So what we're going to do now, since we have been talking for a little bit, and the people that have been in the audience have been listening to us rant for a while, and then some issues, we're going to ask Nathan if he can play a song for us as long as he's ready, because I know he just said that his daughter was waking up. So, Nathan, do you think you can play a tune? Did we lose Nathan, Kristen?
Uh-oh. He's lighting up green, but I don't hear him.
Oh, there might be some... we might be having some issues there, too.
It's a fun day for frickin' Discord. I'm going to blame Discord. Everyone says blame Shane. I'm just like, nah, it's fucking Discord, people.
When Nathan sorts that out, because I know that his daughter was waking up right now, and I think that's what's going on. Let me just say...
he might have.
Yeah, let me just say, everyone who's here, everyone that is dealing with this little issue with me, thank you for sticking around. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, I wish I had the answers, but I don't. Nathan,
Yeah.
I was just saying that I stopped the recording. I started again, and because we have been talking for a long time, if you're ready to do a track, I'll just let you play, and we'll get a song in.
Okay. Can I actually delay that by a minute? My baby did wake up. I'm just going to put on something for her to watch, so she's distracted, so I can play. So if you guys just hit a yada yada, I'll be back in a minute.
No problem.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Hey, listen, Crystal. I gotta tell you something. Because this is not so much related to this show in particular, but it is important, and it is something that we are currently doing, and we haven't had a chance to talk about it. I know you know about the Helping Initiative. Of course, you're one of the people that is helping me with delegation and whatnot. And of course, it's Oscar, the one that is basically right now giving me the only witness support I'm getting currently. I think is Oscar. And if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think it's only Oscar. But yeah. I was thinking about one of the things we talked about yesterday. I was thinking about branching off to doing some music curation for helping. So it was one of the things that maybe it's something that you would be interested in leading, because I want to start kind of making little jobs for people in helping, and I want to start helping songwriters. So it is something that I think me and you could really talk about and come up with a really awesome plan.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to help wherever I can, as always.
Yeah. I think Nathan is back because I just heard the guitar. Nathan,
Okay.
you
Yes.
ready to rock?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sweet, yeah. So, so the other night on the Sounds of Steam, I played a song about a friend of mine who'd suicided, right? And I find it's a really important song to play and play often because it's an important message. But I usually like following it up with at least one other kind of song that gives keys of how to come out of that state. I mean, that song itself does too. It's saying silence is not the way. You know, you need to communicate. We all need to communicate, not just to people feeling down or feeling energy of self-harm, like in that dark place, but those of us in the community need to keep our eyes out and look out for the people hiding that stuff. You know, you got to check in with your friends, your family, that sort of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, this next song, it's the flip. I'll play it and I think you guys will get it. All right. Did everybody hear me okay out there? It's all happening? Okay, good. Everybody thinks they got the heavy slow, but nobody grows if they only focus on the load they are carrying. Everybody thinks they got all the answers to everyone's woes. Instead of focusing on the road they're traveling. Now hold your head up high, 'cause it's your life. It's just a moment in your life. Don't focus on that strife. Just let go. You will see. This too shall pass and it's your life. It's just a moment in your life. Don't let the moment define who you are. 'Cause in truth, you are beautiful. Sometimes we cry with everything except tears for fatuous fears, a concatenation of things no longer serving us. Sometimes we love with nothing more than hope, but how can we cope if we don't propitiate the goddess within us? Now hold your head up high, 'cause it's your life. It's just a moment in your life. Don't focus on that strife. Just let go. You will see. This too shall pass and it's your life. It's just a moment in your life. Don't let the moment define who you are. 'Cause in truth, you are beautiful. Hey, Sometimes we love with nothing more than knowing. But how can we go if we don't nurture the child within us? Hold your head up high, 'cause it's your life. It's just a moment in your life. Don't focus on that strife. Just let go. You will see this too shall pass, and it's your life. It's just a moment in your life. Don't let the moment define who you are, yours and true. You are beautiful. Hey.
Just amazing,
That's
man.
amazing, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have to ask you something about your vocal style, man, because it's like it's almost like it's a combination of a few things for me, right? It's almost like you came from some sort of blues background, but then you love the '80s, so you learned how to do the little '80s kind of grit thing, but then you went into I don't know. I have to let me. Who did you listen to? Like, who was like the singer? You said, okay, that's the dude. I want to learn how to do that, and of course
I
you
want to
did
know
your
what
own
you
thing.
listened to when you're a kid as well. I
Yeah.
think there's some childhood influences coming through.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm glad you didn't name names, actually. But before I answer that question, I got all dressed up, ready for the radio. Anyway,
As you should. As you should. I took a shower. I take a shower for the shows, because you don't want to stink up the show. I hear you.
totally, man. It's soon it'll be smell-o-vision on the blockchain.
I believe it.
But anyway, in answer to your question, okay, gosh, it's a hard question to answer because I'm influenced by a heck of a lot of stuff, and so you get, and that's why I play so many different things and different styles, I guess. Vocally,
Mm-hmm.
There's been various influences at different ages. Absolutely.
He doesn't want to
I
reveal.
didn't, I guess one of my idols when I was a young tacker, a young kid.
Taka.
I had to throw it in
You
something.
caught the Aussie.
Yeah.
When I was a young kid, I was really into In Excess and Michael Hutchence.
Mm-hmm.
His voice, loved his voice.
Definitely.
So a lot of my early influences were more clean vocal sounding kind of singers. And I still love those kind of singers. But then, I mean, there's plenty of other things I was listening to a lot of, which didn't affect my vocals so much as my songwriting. So stuff like Midnight Oil and The Cure.
The Cure. The Cure is an interesting band to me because I like The Cure. I like the songs, but if somebody else would try to sing like that, I would probably slap them.
No, exactly. That's why I say like they aren't vocal influences by any stretch of the imagination. So I kind of digressed. But
the blues. What about the blues? There's somebody in blues that you haven't mentioned.
I'll get to the blues. Yeah. So when I was 17, 18, I discovered an Australian jazz singer called Vince Jones.
Okay.
And I don't actually know that one.
No, a lot of unless you're a jazz head, you won't know. You probably won't know.
Nah, jazz isn't my first calling. No.
Yeah, right. Well, the thing is, right, I come from a dancer background. I was I was a break dancer, but I was also trained in jazz ballet and that kind of stuff. And so
awesome. Same here.
Yeah. So and it was only because I I loved hanging out with really flexible hot chicks when I was a kid, when I was a teenager.
Hey, my brother got roped in for the same reasons, okay? Like, my brother was the only male in, like, a 70-strong female dance group. So he had it made. And
Having
what's
said
more,
that-
because he did karate, it helped with flexibility.
That's it. I was a black belt in karate. And
Same with my brother. That's insane. You're so much like my brother. It's tripping me out, man.
And it got me out of hairy spots having the karate, but the dance actually helped with my karate kicking. That aside, I was the only heterosexual male. So there was a couple of other males. I went to a performing arts high school in Sydney called Newtown High School of Performing Arts. And
nice.
And it was, I mean, I went to 11 different schools, guys, but in 3 different states. But that was my last school. And it was great. But when I play music, I come from a movement perspective. So the reason I'm able to play drums with my feet and all these other things at the same time, I think comes from the fact that I've always loved movement.
I would have to say, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Knowing that about you, because dance is all about counting beats and moving your body in specific times to those beats. And so once exactly. Not all parts move at the same time. And so that really makes a lot more sense as to how you've brought that all together, because I mean, I dance and I can't do that shit, so you've taken it to a whole new level.
You know, it's like every time I see Nathan perform, I'm thinking to myself, how do you break down all the movements? So you go like, okay, one strum down, then after one strum, then right foot down, then after the thing, then bum, then digi, and I'm like,
that's not how a dancer works, and it's not how I work with the music. I feel it, right, and allow, like my body, I know what I want to hear in my head, and then I allow my body parts to do it. When I put this together, it came together really quickly. It was actually a bit trippy.
You mean your one man act?
Yeah, when I didn't know that I was able to isolate. I hadn't put too much thought about, I can play kick and snare and hi-hat and splash and other things with my feet without having to think about it, because I know what I want to hear, I know what I want to feel, I know what beat I want to create. So if I was to think about it too much, in the early days at least, I probably would have fucked up a lot more.
Oh yeah.
But these days, because I've been performing since I was quite young, and in order to get that really nice shot of adrenaline and endorphins, I like to purposefully try and fuck up, which means I'll try and do something I haven't done before and see if I can pull it off. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. Most of the time, other people don't notice whether I do or don't. I do. Oh my God, you fucking did that. But that in and of itself keeps pushing and raising the bar up higher. And so one of the things I got into way over a decade now, I mean, with the one-man band, I was into odd time signatures and polyrhythms, right? So I wanted to see if I could play a 4/4 beat with my feet and do like a 7/8 with my guitar and sixes with my lips.
Can you do this?
And yeah, sure.
No, oh my God. You're a freaking nature.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you can hear that.
Yeah.
3, 4. Okay, so then on the ditch, I'm going to do the 7/8.
Get out of here.
That is so cool.
Okay, so then I'll get to triplets on the guitar then. So
what the?
That's just fun.
My brain starts to break with the multiple time signatures
Like
and stuff. I just can't. math.
Yeah, I can appreciate it. Like I'm listening to it, and I'm like, man, I can bob my head to this. It's badass,
Yeah,
but
fuck
I
it.
can't break it down. Like I'm like, okay,
Okay.
I'm like, okay, here it is. Oh,
So,
like especially because the 7 makes the one hit to sound early. You know, like when you're
yeah.
interposing it. So it's not, but it sounds like what happened there? And, yeah, man, that's
It's almost
crazy.
like you're doing a 6 with an extra, or you're going to do 2 lots of 4, and you're taking one out, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? But there's a certain funkiness to it. There's a real funkiness. I love that. Like and I love all sorts of, like 5/4, for example. So.
Uh-huh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Jasmine's I leaving there to hear me go in and say.
So, yeah, and when I first wrote that song, and that was quite a while ago. That's like 14 years old or something. Singing a 5/4 song whilst playing it, it takes you got to get. It's like having multiple focuses, so many focuses that you don't need to. You slip into this other zone.
Yeah.
And this is something I actually wanted to talk about, because people often comment about my energy, right? And there's a lot of ways to generate that energy.
Oh, I know the secret. Here's what you do. I know the secret. You buy 5 Red Bulls and you chug. You do the whole thing, and then you hit record on the camera, and boom, right? That's how it works.
Well, if you want to crash like Jim Carrey did in that film, yeah, that was hilarious. No, so I mean, look, energy itself comes from breathing, so controlling your breath and learning how to control your breath. Didgeridoo taught me a lot about breathing. Martial arts did. Singing itself, learning how to properly sing, like getting proper training. And did I say yoga? In yoga as well. So those things taught me how to use my diaphragm. And not just that, when I went to acting school, and I went to acting school with like Joel Edgerton and those kind of actors.
Nice.
Yeah. And actually, he texted me last year and asked me if it was okay to date some girl I once dated.
No fucking way.
He wants to
Joel
prove
Edgerton.
it. Okay.
I was like, Joel, that's really nice, mate. Really gentlemanly of you, but it's not the 1920s, man. Like, if she's an ex, there's a reason for it. But anyway, I digress. In acting, something I discovered when I was on stage doing a performance as an actor on tour during when I was 17, and one night, just before I got on, I suddenly didn't remember any lines. It was the final night of the tour, and so it was the last show.
And you went completely blank.
I was a complete blank.
What did you do?
I took a few breaths and I just walked on to the stage, right? So, there's still a certain amount of trust involved. And my first line is triggered by the girl that was playing my romantic partner in the show. And she'd forgotten her fucking lines.
Okay.
I love it when everyone blinks at once. It's like, fuck.
And I saw the look of horror, the sheer terror on her face. And
we've all been there. Actors, that is. Like, it's just, I'm so scared.
And this can happen in any art form. But, in acting, when you're supposed to be in a character and you're supposed to have a certain emotion and there's certain lines and certain places you're meant to be, there's so many different focuses that you're supposed to have. And
beady darty eyes aren't one of them.
Yeah, you're relying on each other to remember at least your own shit, right?
Yeah.
And something I've always had a really, not a photographic memory, but a really good memory for scripts. So I would learn everybody else's part as well. To learn my part, so I knew where I was at. Anyway, my character was supposed to be really pissed off with her, and she'd forgotten her lines, so it was really easy to be pissed off with her.
So you improv the whole thing?
Yeah, and that took me out of whatever blank I was in as well. And suddenly, it was almost like I'd lifted up outside of myself, and I was watching myself deliver each line perfectly with the perfect type of emotion, and yet I was in it. Hey, Dad, what happened? No Teletubbies anymore? Sorry, guys, I'm a dad as well, so that's just part of the parcel.
Hey, this is live radio, man. This is it doesn't matter. This is awesome. It's real people. Real people. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Real people.
Real people multitasking.
Exactly.
But
now Nathan's gonna play drums while he entertains his daughter and sings and plays. He just added one more.
So to cap off this story, oh shit, what have you done? to cap off this story, I was in this other zone, and I was almost like completely. She's playing my drums now. Completely the character. And I lost myself a bit in it, but there was this, it was being the watcher, watching the watcher, watching itself. I wrote a song about it actually. And it was such an amazing space. Oh, don't press that button. Oh God. It was such an amazing space. That, that someone said I want to be a Jamaican. So an Australian Jamaican accent. So here you go, Soul Gang. What I realized, I'm getting distracted left, right, and center, but what I realized is that that's that energy, that's where you want to be in music as well. That truthful, not only are you in it, but you're so beyond, there's so many things to focus on that you become, it's like a form of meditation. It's like you become this deeper part of yourself that's over, and that's what music does for me, and that's why I will do polyrhythmic stuff, and I'll sneak polyrhythmic stuff in there and nobody will notice. It's just for my benefit.
No, but so I mean, I one of the reasons why I call you like a musical ninja is because I noticed them. That's an element that is it's kind of interesting, right? Because I don't know who's the first person to ever said this, but Petitia was the first person to tell me, you can be really heavy on theory, but you got to be easy on the ear. And that is important because sometimes a lot of musicians, they get into this whole thing of like, oh, look at all that I can do, look at this thing, and look at all this technique, all this thing. But then the listener needs to be some sort of, whatever the equivalent would be of a scientist of the musical realm to appreciate it because it's so complex. So it's really hard on the ear. And I love it when somebody is able to connect those two. Somebody is able to add enough gold for a musician who is a bit of a nerd and analyzes everything like me. To go like, oh my God, oh look at that, oh that's awesome, look at the modulation. Oh, you know what? He was singing a major on top of a minor, and for a non-musician to listen to it and go like, oh man, that's a beautiful song, because that's all they care about. That's what I mean?
The truth. It's finding accumulating enough. I was using the analogy of paint before to talk about making an album, and sometimes as an independent musician, you don't have enough paint. But as a musician or when you were to learn anything, you shouldn't stop learning. And so the more things you learn, the more it will slowly, hopefully, be imbibed into the music that you create and make it more colorful and more interesting without sacrificing the truth of whatever the story is in either the lyrics or the melody, and without sacrificing the beauty in the music.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to say that there isn't a place for the intellectual art of technicality. I mean, that's why there's a certain group of people that love that freeform jazz. It's not really freeform. It's just that they know their theory to a level where they can communicate that language to each other. And if you understand that language, you go, oh, wow, it's an intellectual movement.
You know what,
And
though,
I
Nathan?
think
I have a theory for that. Okay, I'm going to
sorry,
share with.
so all of the whatever art you create,
Mm-hmm.
and I think music. This is specific. I'll talk specifically about music and songwriting. Music should a good song, for example, will do one of these things. It should either move you intellectually, or it should move you emotionally, or it should move you physically, or move you spiritually, right?
Agreed.
And that's a good song. A good song will do one of those four things. A great song will do a combination of some of those things. And you know, there's those odd songs every now and then that somehow encapsulate all of those elements. The ones that will, you know, last the test of time. You know, that just as soon as you hear it the first time, you go, "Oh my fucking god!"
I agree. And nobody knows what that formula is. They just are. You know,
There is
like
no
that.
formula.
Yeah.
It's the only thing it needs to do is move, is create movement within someone or without, or you know, it includes dance music is valid because it can move your body. It's even more valid if it has some emotion and intellect in there as well. Some, you know, so I mean, horses for courses, right? Different people like different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta tell you something though, Nathan. Regarding the intellectual musicians, I want to say, and maybe I will pay the price for what I'm about to say, but I want to say a lot of those people are faking it, and I'll tell you why. Okay, this is my theory. Okay, of course, I'm not talking about the professionals, the ones that are out there gigging and making the money playing that acid jazz stuff. Of course, they know what they're talking about. I'm talking about when you go to the bar level and there's all these guys that get together and they're doctors and lawyers and all this stuff, and they say, no, we like jazz. Because I got invited to a jazz band and I played with a jazz band. It was like fusion jazz for almost 6 months, and now I'm not a jazz player. And when I got invited, here's the way it happened. Right, I'm a bassist. That's my instrument.
Okay, cool.
I got invited, and the guy tells me, he's like, "No, listen, I've seen you play. You play great. Don't worry about it." And I kept on telling him that this is his first gig. I'm like, I'm not a jazz player. I mean, I know theory, but I don't know too much. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just play with how you feel. The whole time I played with him, I never knew exactly what we were doing. I did not. It's not like I was going. Oh, all right. So we're playing an A. All right, we're gonna go to the relative major.
Feeling it.
I was just whatever, and I was doing walk bass lines of what I felt where we were going and all this stuff. And most of the time, the guys were like, "Man, I love how you were playing on the mixolydian on top of my scale, blah blah." And I'm like, "Man, I don't know, maybe. I mean, whatever. If that's what you say, that's what I was doing. I have no fucking clue. I was just going with the flow, you know." And so maybe just maybe, a lot of those people are kind of faking it like me, and they get away with it.
Well,
maybe
it's yes and no. It's not the word fake. It's the word listen. They're just listening. It doesn't necessarily mean they know intellectually what theoretical juxtaposition they just thrown together. Some of them do. I mean, I've met. I mean, I can hear plenty of that stuff too myself, and I play a lot of that stuff. But you know, I was just showing you before with the rhythms and polyrhythms. But it still has to come from a place of feeling. You know what I mean? And it needs to make sense from the inside to come out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me.
And so
I could not resort to theory, so that's the only thing I have.
A total newbie's not going to, know what to do, in that kind of circumstance. But if you know a certain amount of theory, you can then just trust yourself and use the force, Padawan.
That's right. Well, listen, Nathan, look, you want to do another song? Can you do another song right now?
Yeah.
I want to get at least 3 or 4 songs on this track because that's the goal out of this interview. These performances.
Do you want more of the 6-string, or do you want some? What do you feel like? Some lap steel?
I love the lap steel, man. So if you can do lap steel, that'll be amazing. That's actually one of those instruments that I wish I could play. I bought myself a little slider one time, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to play slide guitar because I love how it sounds. It's like adding the vocal element to strings. You know, the way you can. Yeah, I know I'm using the word again, but slide into the notes and vibrato in a way that.
No frets.
Oh, I love it. I can't do it though. Every time I try it, it sounds like I'm choking a cat. You know, but you played amazingly. So please, if you can do that one, that'll be awesome.
Yeah. So in answer to your earlier question, I found a singer called Vince Jones, and then I discovered sort of jazz and blues. And it was weird because everybody around me, all my sort of peers were listening to Nirvana and all that, and I was as well, and Chili Peppers, one of my favorite bands. All of the stuff that was alternate, popular, and all that kind of stuff. But in my car, I had classical music, blues and jazz playing loud. When I was 19, 20, it was crazy.
That's awesome. Whenever you're ready, bro.
See the band of dressed in red. Got gonna get the morning. Must be the band that Moses led. God's gonna trouble the water. See the band all dressed in white. God's gonna trouble the water. Must be the band of the Israelites. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade into water. Wade into water, children. Wade into water. God's gonna trouble the world. Oh, see the band all dressed in red. God's gonna trouble the world. Oh, must be the band Moses led. God's gonna trouble the world. Oh, wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble. Oh, Mother Nature's gonna trouble the world. Check on away the water if we don't fucking watch out. Oh!
was bloody brilliant.
That's awesome, Raven. Well, this song is actually gives me a good idea of something I wanted to talk about with you because
Yeah.
I know you are somebody who believes a lot in the necessity of us protecting this planet, and you have your opinions regarding what us humans are doing and the things where we are not doing that we should be doing to protect it. So this song is a good segue to that. And I have to say, brother, I mean, it's hard not to get caught up when you perform. Like every single time I hear you perform, I'm bobbing my head, I'm tapping with my feet and all that stuff. I don't know the lyrics, but I feel like I'm in there with you, you know. And it's freaking
That's good to
awesome,
hear,
man.
bro. That's it, man. You know, if you're feeling something, and that my arms, lungs, and limbs are producing, and I'm fucking stoked. You know, that's what we were talking about before. You know, that I want to move people. I want to first feel the movement within me, and if that comes out and moves others, fucking wicked. Yes.
Do you know that James Brown used to have this thing, right? That every time he would, yeah, every time he would perform, at the end, right? Like, because they would call him the hardest working man in the showbiz. And like, I don't know if you're a James Brown fan. I think James Brown, like, aside from the fact that he was a cuckoo, he was amazing. And and you would see the dude. He would just leave it all on stage, all the everything he had. He would be dancing and screaming. I mean, he put on the show. And when it was over, he was destroyed. Like you would look at, he would be sweating buckets of water, and he would put with a towel on, you know, trying to trying to recoup all the water he just lost. And I appreciate that so much because I feel like that's aside from the good writing and good singing and all that stuff, that's a performer. You know, somebody who's just gonna go on stage, and when it's over, that's it. I unloaded everything on you. Here it is. And you embrace that mentality, even if you do it consciously or you don't. But it's all like when you perform, it's like I'm not thinking of what I'm gonna do 3 hours from now. Yeah, I'm not gonna go ride my bike later. I think I even wrote that. I was like, yeah, let me do it all the way. And I appreciate that so much about the way you perform.
Thank you, brother. You know what? You know, we're talking about energy. We're talking about being present in the moment of performance, and it doesn't matter whether you're a soft folky or you're, you know, doing some ball tearing fucking lap steel slide guitar, whatever, right? There's still, even if you're an introspective folky singer, because I like playing folk, introspective folk. You know, I've played you guys a couple of things in the past.
Yeah, man. Really love the one you played on Pirate Radio last
Mm.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I love that song. I haven't played that in years, you know, and actually playing that time made me really go, oh my God, I love that. Why haven't I played that in so long? But anyway, it still has to come from a place of truth within, and it still needs to be done with the utmost of energy in your truth. So it doesn't have to be wham bam thank you man kind of energy, but it still has to be, there still needs to be a potent, intense energy even in the softest of folky things. I mean, nobody can tell me when they listen to Jeff Buckley playing Hallelujah on the Grace album, right, that isn't just titillating and exuding intense, extreme, potent energy. It is. Even though it's soft and beautiful, it's like there's potent energy, and that's what I'm talking about. And one of the techniques that I've because when I go on tour, I'll often run workshops of performance mastery for musicians, and take musicians literally through a workshop of how to get to their most energetic, most truthful, confident self without being arrogant, you know, and get rid of nerves and all that kind of stuff. And one of the techniques that I think is just, it's a golden key. It's a visualization. So before I get on stage, before I do a performance, if we want to get, I'm going to get esoteric here, so to bear with me. Imagine you've got an aura, like an egg of energy around your whole body and all around your cells. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine I take in deep breaths, and each time I inhale light into my body from above and below, light from Mother Earth and from Father Sun. And every time I exhale, my egg aura expands. And I'll do that until even if I'm playing to 15,000 people, and I've played to 15,000 people before, which is a buzz, but I imagine that my aura has expanded to fill the room I'm in, and then beyond, I'll it'll be the whole building I'm in, and further if I can muster it. Everyone that's witnessing and beyond, hopefully, should be literally within my body, within my light body. Yeah. So I use breath to access that. I use visualization to access that, and I'll just do that. And that creates not just a potent energy, but there's a certain magnetism that it creates as well. Because if we were going to go into quantum physics, then we are basically light and sound vibration. Yeah, we're electromagnets.
Yeah,
our whole body. You still with me there? I know some people.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
So we're electromagnets, which means we can either attract or repel, depending on how we consciously direct it. And that technique, just in visualizing your light body or aura or whatever you want to call it, growing and expanding, so that everybody within, if you want to enter a room, try it. Next time you go to a party or even into a bar or something, before you walk in, take some breaths and imagine your light body just expanding and embracing everybody that's in there, in that space. And then witness, see the difference of how people interact with you. Of course, it takes a bit more time to get really strong with the magnetism aspect, but it fucking works. I can tell you.
I think it's a lot healthier than my technique. Did I ever share with you my technique to not get nervous when I perform for a lot of people?
When you go and take a shit?
No. No. My technique is terrible. I'm going to try yours next time. My technique is I imagine that I dislike absolutely everybody and that I don't care what anybody thinks.
Okay.
And then once they applaud after the first song, then I like them. But it's super non-positive. Like I'm gonna try to adopt yours now. But I gotta tell you,
I can understand why you would do that. And it could really work. But of course, I would say be careful with that one, because you could come on stage looking like a twat. And then
exactly, yeah. No, but it's a nuclear option. Like one time I played for like 1,200 people. And that's the biggest audience I ever had for my original music, right? And I was really nervous that day because, again, I'm not doing covers; I'm doing my stuff. And that's when I kind of discovered it. I was like, what if I imagined that I hate everybody? Like all you people, I hate you all. And then I was able to be brave enough to get on the stage and perform after I imagined that. And then after the first song, they clapped. I was like, okay. We're fine. Everything's fine. And I did. We only did 4 songs, with the band. But I kind of kept it as a halfway joke, but halfway real. But I like yours better. You know what this reminds me of? There's a guru. I can't remember his name right now, so I'm gonna try to.
Before you go on, I can imagine there's a few people in your audience at that time that you played to 1,200 people going, "Fuck, he was singing that love song like he was gonna fucking kill me."
That was no love song. That was a hate song.
That's an interesting artistic choice. Anyway, go back to the fucking guru. Okay, please talk about the guru now.
But so what you're saying reminded me of this thing I learned from a guru watching videos. I like to watch Krishnamurti sometimes. I like to educate myself as much as I can. And every time I do, I know how much I need to learn. I realize how ignorant I am. But this is one guru I found that he was talking about realizing that the self is not contained within us, and and I really love that because it really resonated with me, and it goes along with what you're saying. He was talking about like if you try to define,
Exactly.
yeah, if you're
Yes.
trying to define who you are, you say, okay, I am Menno. No, that's your name. Like are you your body? Are you your skin? And then you try to basically analyze the fact that you are everything you perceive, everything you see, everything that touches you, everything you interact with, and you expand yourself. And when yourself is expanded, you realize that the well-being and the energy and the love, that everything that is confined by that self that keeps on expanding, is a beautiful thing, and nobody has to tell you, hey, you know what? Smile to that person over there, be friendly to this other one over here, because it's all part of your experience of life. And
Yeah.
I think that what you were talking about is very much connected to that mindset, to that philosophy, because there you are putting yourself out there, but in a sense that you understand that they are you, you are them, and you're just sharing a moment. And it's not about, hey, like, here you go, here's me, accept me. It's like, hey, guys, here we are. Let's share this moment together. It's a very different approach. I love it. I think
Yeah. Look, it's
I'm gonna give it a whack.
definitely try it, and don't just try it. Like I said, don't just try it on stage, because, like anything in life, whatever you practice, you become better at. You know, what you practice, you become. So you need to practice that shit. You need to practice it off the stage and in your daily life as well, but for it to work on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, I guarantee it will work even if you do it once, but not to the degree it will work if you practice it as a daily practice, or at least a regular practice. And I mean, that even just that one technique is great. The other one is to imagine a cord coming out of your perineum, which is or your base chakra, which is between your anus and your scrotum, or your anus and your vagina. It's just that little spot there.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine a cord. I can see people. Some people are squirming, and some people are.
I'm actually aware of this already. So
some people are getting a bit hard, and other people are going, "What the fuck?" Anyway, just imagine the cord coming from the crown at the top of your head all the way down through your perineum. I'll say it again: between your anus and vagina, or anus and scrotum, just because it sounds great. And and watch that cord go all the way down into the earth, right to the core of the earth. And all of the negative, yucky, fucking stresses of the day or the week pour down into the core of the earth. She drinks it up, burns it up, and then transforms it into energy, and it comes back up through that that perineum and up in through all of your spine and out through your crown.
This is meditation. Yeah, this is meditation you do, basically.
Yeah. So that one is a really quick and easy way to feel centered.
Mm-hmm.
I like the metaphor of don't be like the tree next to the creek, be like the reed inside the creek, like the seagrass or the reed. So the seagrass and the reed is flexible and pliable, but it is rooted into the earth under the creek bed. Mm-hmm. So even when a flood or massive deluge of rain comes, it just flows. I mean, you should see I'm doing the actions in my arm, but I look like a fucking octopus. Anyway. Whereas a tree will break when that deluge comes. That it will fall and break. So it's good to be flexible but rooted into the earth. So that technique of visualizing everything being connected to the core of the earth keeps you anchored and grounded. I do that visualization or just fucking learn Didge, one or the other.
Speaking of Didge, now that you said this, like, how did you get into playing that instrument? Like, I know it's a Aborigines word, it's their instrument, but how did you get it?
My stepfather was Aboriginal, man.
Ah, this makes perfect sense now.
I mean, he was a shit Didge player. Bless him, he's passed on. But my mum married after my mum and dad split. A few years later, my mum married an Aboriginal fella. And I've got a little brother and sister that are half Aboriginal, same mum, different dad. And some of my best friends, like one of my best friends in my teens was a Didge player. And when I was 17, I didn't touch it though. I'd play guitar and sing and he'd play the Didge. And then when I was 17, I relocated from Queensland, from a little island in Queensland to the inner sort of west inner city of Sydney,
Mhm.
and
That's intense.
yeah, it's the biggest city in Australia. So going from like a little island where dolphins flopping around into the city, I loved it. It was a great change. It was different. I was 16 turning 17, but an Aboriginal
Good
fellow
time
was on
to
walk.
do it.
Yeah. An Aboriginal fellow was on walkabout, and we often had Aboriginal crew just come and stay at our place for a night or a week here and there, And this guy was a full-blood tribesman from the Pitjantjatjara tribe, and brought a didge with him. And he specifically put the didge in the corner of my room before he left, and that's what got me started.
That's so
he was giving
awesome.
me permission. He was giving me, because in Australia, the Aboriginals don't go by fucking contracts.
Yeah.
They don't. They use very little words, but they say so much. And he
Very
said so
true.
much to me. Yeah, he said so much to me without saying fucking hardly anything. And also because his English wasn't great. But
I
that's what got
love
me
that.
started.
Sorry, it's so rare these days to find Aboriginal people that don't just blanket speak English. I actually find it
Yeah, I mean, he
quite
spoke, but he wasn't very good at it.
nice. I mean,
But-
I like hearing them stick to their native language, and I'm not saying that they can't use English or anything like that. It's just I know how many
Keeping the culture
of the
alive.
different
Yeah.
dialects have been lost
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
the white
Oh,
trashing of their culture. And so yeah, it's just nice to hear
well,
that
agree.
he even spoke his
that's
native
true.
tongue.
There were over 400 different languages prior to white colonization, and there are 6 still used on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's
That's crazy.
atrocious.
And when I say 400 different languages, like 200 of those languages were distinctly different, as different as Russian is.
Yeah.
From,
There-
a lot of people
like,
think it's
There
one
was so
culture and
many
one
different
nation. But
colonies. There were moving groups of people that traversed the land and were in one with the nature.
they had
and
the
stuff.
same
It's-
religion, but they had different language, different nations, different laws. But anyway, without digressing, that when something like that happens to you, especially when you're in your teens, you take that shit seriously. And I
of
locked
course.
myself in the room, and I got circular breathing within 3 days, but I couldn't quite work out why it wasn't fully happening, and it was because the
Cope's
didge that-
just dropped it in chat as well.
Oh yeah, nice one, Cope. The didge that he'd given me was slightly too big for my lung capacity at the time, and so it's important you start on the right didge. So when you say you tried a didge before, it might not be the right size for you, for your lip size and for your lung capacity. And so I grabbed the vacuum cleaner pipe,
Mhm.
and I got circular breathing straight away. So it was just the size of the thing that was too big. And then once I worked my lungs up, I could play that didge. And now I've got, one of my specialties is I can play really huge didges. It's one of the things I like doing because it really expands your lung capacity. And I love the deep, rich sub bass kind of sounds.
That
me, it's
explains
like-
how you can hold notes when you sing like that, like you have an extra lung. I was joking earlier saying like, oh, he has a reserved lung, so when he hits that note and holds it, he's tapping into the reserve. That explains it. So like working on the didge kind of expanded your diaphragm like that.
Yeah. But didge, like I said earlier, didge, martial arts, yoga, and to a lesser degree singing training, but all of those things are what helped me develop my lung capacity. And so anybody, even if you're doing the singer-songwriter thing, I find a lot of singer-songwriters and musicians out there, they might learn their guitar really, 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 really well, but they don't pay too much mind to training their voice. And I think training your voice is so handy because you learn things like breath control, and then you can hold notes like that.
No,
And then
100%.
I'm polar opposite, and I can't commit to an instrument, but I could not go without singing. It's just a necessity for me.
Yeah.
I have a theory
Obviously,
regarding the instruments that I don't know if Nathan will maybe agree with me. I think you don't pick them. I think they pick you because I tried to play a bunch of
Sure.
stuff, and once I found the bass, I was like, oh, this is the one. Like I could not put it down.
Oh yeah.
Nobody told me to study it. I couldn't put it down. So
Yeah.
maybe that's it. Maybe
No,
first
I mean,
you haven't
I-
find your
I
instrument.
totally agree. I totally agree, bro.
Sorry, Coop.
It's and that'll grow. You know, I think when you become intimate and have a deep, loving relationship with one instrument, it often expands.
Yeah.
You want to get to know their cousins. So that's why I know so many stringed instruments. And some stringed instruments, it's like I've had past life with. You know, I remember this. Hey, darling. I remember I was touring in China. No shit.
She is so cute.
Oh, what? Anyway, I was touring in China. Long before you were born, when your big sister was a little your age. And I was touring in China, and I met this Afghanistani refugee, and he invited me to his home, and his wife cooked me a beautiful meal, and then he rolled me a big spliff from Afghanistani hash, like you do. So when in China do as do, Afghanis do. And then he pulled out, and this is the bit that, you know, was pretty magical. He pulled out this 120-year-old instrument he'd been, you know, that he had in the family called a rabab. And
I'm not familiar with it. Can somebody put a picture of that?
21 string. It's got 21 strings. It's fretless. So it's got 10 strings on the top that you play that are kind of like, I think traditionally they would be in goat skin or something like that. And then there's sympathy strings, like an Indian instrument, but it's Middle Eastern, that ring in drone and sympathy underneath. And he started playing that, and it was like, what? And then he pulled out this really old, you know, dilapidated looking book, like it was from fucking Harry Potter. So I'll write it out. Rabab. He pulled out this old book, all written in Arabic, of Rumi poetry. Now, anybody that knows Jalaluddin Rumi he was a 12th century Sufi mystic poet. My favorite poet, right?
I'm not familiar, but I have to say, but I trust you. I'll probably look at
too. Look up Rumi. It's incredible stuff. It'll blow your heart open.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so he's playing this rabab and reading this Rumi poetry in Arabic, and I'm tripping balls on his Afghanistani hash. My baby's and
so you were traveling the world right there.
Yeah, I pulled out my 12 string. Yeah, because we were in a little island off the coast of Southeast China Sea, and I'm in this Afghanistani guy's place, and I mean it's just incredible. But I pulled out my 12 string. We had a bit of a jam, and then I was like, "Please, can I try this rabab?" And yeah, that is a type of Afghanistani rabab. His one had a slightly bigger goat skin bottom at the gaudy part at the bottom. But anyway, it sounded so deep. But I got on it and I could play it immediately. It was really fucking bizarre. I've never had that with an instrument. Like I've had that with a few instruments, sort of, but that one was like suddenly I was playing Middle Eastern melodies on this ancient rabab, and I'm like, where do you get one? And he just started laughing at me going, you cannot get one of these, you know. You can't just get one. It's a 120-year-old Afghani you know, instrument. But anyway,
you can't get one ordered anyway. Is that like something that?
No, you probably can, but he was saying you can't get one like that.
Yeah,
you can't get one like that, you know. And I get it, you know. So you can't just get one.
No, that was a legacy instrument. Yeah, of course, you would never let it go.
Yeah. Yes, his one was a little bit more like that one, Anka. A little bit more like that.
Super pretty. I love how beautiful. Pretty instruments are.
I will get one eventually, but you know, I'd like to get one in the actual country. What I do have is a Hansa Veena, which is an Indian 21-stringed. Well, that one's 23 string. Lap steel slide guitar, but it looks like a sitar. So I've got one of those.
I love the sound of sitar. Love it. I don't have one. I intend to get one day. It's one of my favorite weird noises. You know, it's
Yeah. No, it's beautiful.
a beautiful sound. I think I
Well,
was
the
born in the wrong
Huntsavina is-
decade.
Yeah, the Huntsavina is like that, but it's a slide guitar, and my favorite. There you go. That's exactly what mine looks like, but a slightly smaller bum. My favorite lap steel slide guitar players are Indian. So my favorite, like he's like the king of all of my slide guitar heroes. Is there's Hunts. Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah. I'll take a pic of mine and put it up, but
make it to scale so I can tell how big it is, because that fucker looks huge.
It does
yeah,
look
no, it's
pretty
because
big.
it's in your lap and
Yeah.
Debashish Bhattacharya. He's my favorite Indian slide guitarist. He's phenomenal. Him and also Vishnu Mohan Bhatt. I saw him live, and he's the one that his music actually put me on to wanting to take lap steel slide guitar seriously.
Oh yeah, man! You're gonna have to give me all these links, or like, and
Yeah. So
like, check this out. Check this out. Yeah.
Like, even though there's a lot, you hear the blues rock and the folk in my music, I'm heavily influenced by world music and world music instruments. Stop talking to the computer and talk to me.
But listen, Nate. Let me ask you something regarding these instruments. Did you ever take formal lessons, or like on all these slide, or is it you're completely self-taught? Like, are you in any way like went to conservatory, took guitar, or just 100% just you? I mean, vocals, everything.
Okay, so I had formal training in singing at the Performing Arts High School. I had my first guitar was given to me by a Spanish guitar player, a nylon string, and he only showed me a couple of things. But Dad sent me to classical guitar lessons for about 6 months, and I hated it.
Oh yeah,
I was 14. Yeah, I was 14, man. I wanted to play Bob Marley and fucking. The stuff that I was listening to, Lenny Kravitz and whatever. So I didn't practice it, but I got enough from that 6 months to get the posture and the of how the hand and body is supposed to be. After that, I was completely self-taught. Everything has been self-taught.
That's amazing.
Just exploration.
Hearing that from so many people that we've been talking to, that they had some formal training, usually rejected it, and then went on to fucking master the instruments on their own anyway.
Yeah, that's why I always ask this question, because it's like.
And that's not to poo-poo on formal training either, because there's a time and a place for that. And a lot of the players that I've played with over the years are formally trained players, and they're fucking phenomenal. What I often find is institutions, they will, when it comes to the arts, they will deaden the passion or the dreams of somebody. It's not even a joke, because the teachers kind of say, well, these are the masters, Miles Davis, Coltrane, or whoever, right? Usually jazz artists. And you're never going to be that, but you can try and learn what they know. And I think that's a really bullshit way of looking at things.
100% bullshit. I hate that.
Yeah, it's just bullshit. But anyway, as long as you continue to learn and continue to challenge yourself. I mean, there was many years where my guitar playing just wasn't. I never thought I'd become a guitar player. I only learnt it because I knew I needed to communicate my songs and what I was hearing in my head to other musicians. But I never intended to be a guitarist, and that passion came later for me, actually. The really just went, oh my God, you can do, and the better you get at something, the more joy it brings you. Like,
absolutely.
When I became a black belt in karate, that
you have a black
so
belt?
much more fun. It was so much more fun than being a white belt.
100%. Yeah.
It's funny because I mean he said karate, and it's not that I didn't hear that. I did, but I was like, oh, but I didn't know you were a black belt. I mean, that's like, all right. So he can serenade you with a ballad. He can blow your mind with playing 10 instruments at a time, or chop your head off with one kick. That's Nathan Kaye right there.
Well, see, martial arts taught me how to learn things because
Teaches you patience and control and tolerance
and discipline, right?
It's a discipline. That's the word I was searching for. Thank you.
Self-discipline. And so I've approached all of the instruments, the acting, everything with that martial art intensity. Like you know, when I got into acting, there was 2 films I saw, and then the next day I was like, that's it. I'm going to be an actor. And I went that week knocking on agents' doors. I was 17, man. I was like knocking on people's doors. And you're always a white belt, Anka, because you're always learning. I was knocking on doors. I got myself an agent, and I just started buying scripts and playing characters at home, you know, learning scripts and playing characters. And I've met actors that don't do that. I'm like, what do you mean you don't do that? When you play guitar, you have to learn scales. When you, you know, and you need to learn songs. When you want to be an actor, you've got to practice every day. You want to be good at it. And
no,
so
I've never thought about it, but that makes sense. I just never thought about it.
Yeah, but it's a little bit more nebulous. It's a bit like acting. The art of acting is more. There's not like you can just go and practice scales or something. You need to find out what an actor's scales are, right? And in acting, it's inhabiting characters. It's understanding your physicality. It's understanding your emotionality. There's a whole lot of different things you need to learn. Anyway, I ended up going to my first audition for a commercial. It was a Nintendo commercial for the US. It was never aired in Australia, just in the US. And I went to the audition and I fucking got it. And I was like, wow, I was so stoked. I mean, I was 17. And I dropped out of school, right, when I was 16. I worked for a year in a chicken shop as a vegan. Yeah.
You've always been
I was
a vegan?
I started being vegan when I was 10, yeah. I in and out, I mean, I went, that's a whole nother, you know, you need to interview me for an hour to talk about that shit. But working in a chicken shop, pulling out guts of chickens when you're a fucking vegan is pretty intense.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like pleasurable.
No, but I did that, got treated like shit. I got paid fuck all. And I mean, it was just a pittance amount of pay, and they really treated me badly. I was the kitchen hand, so I was just like the lowest rung on the, you know, so they just thought that they could dump all their shit on me. And my dad was trying to teach me to save, and I ended up saving a certain amount of money. And that amount, now this is the interesting thing. So it was so hard. I managed to save all this amount after a year of working. And I went, fuck this, I've got to go back to school, which is why I auditioned for the Performing Arts School and got in that. Anyway, fast forward back to when I got, to the point where I got this TV commercial. And I turned up on set. And, you know, I was from a really poor family, and they fed me gourmet food. They're paying me to eat. And then I had these people were treating me with respect and treating me nicely. And the wardrobe girls were being nice and all that kind of stuff. I was like, wow, fuck, I'm used to being treated like shit. You know?
Yeah, the big contrast there.
Yeah. The amount I earned on that one day of working as an actor was the same amount I'd saved in the whole year of doing some shitty job I hated. And here I was doing what I loved, you know, as a performing artist, being treated well and paid well. And then just it was such an obvious fucking sign to me. And not only that, the wardrobe girl picked me up. So I got paid, I got laid.
Oh, so it was full service. Ah, okay, that's VIP right there.
I'm gonna do more of this shit. Damn, you know, I'm gonna get good at this.
Can I assume that you never went back to the chickens?
Never went back to chickens. And I promised myself that I would only do jobs that were meaningful and that I loved. And for that to happen, you have to fucking be disciplined and you have to get fucking good at it. You have to get really good at it.
I love that. I came to a different conclusion as to why I shouldn't work for other people. I was also working with chickens, KFC, lovely job. But again, I was treated like shit. And just one day I'm like, why am I doing this? And so, yeah, quit, never look back. And
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't work again until really Steam It. So had kids and stuff. So yeah, like it's about changing your mindset as well, and believing that you have value to contribute in some way. And
Yes.
I love that Steam It is allowing people to contribute and get something for their efforts in that way.
Well, it's invigorated it for me too. Like Steam It has been an open mic. It's been amazing. It's just been perfect timing. What I would call divine timing.
You got invited by
doesn't
Ben Lee,
matter
right?
Hey?
It was Ben Lee that told you, hey, mate, you got to come check this out. Or did you find it by yourself?
Yeah,
I think it was Ben
it was
Lee.
Ben Lee that tipped me onto it. Absolutely.
He's been doing such a great job bringing talent to the platform. Man.
Yeah, so well.
He's such a connector. He's always been a connecting, a good connecting kind of person.
Yeah.
He's really, a magical being on that level.
We should try and get him on the show as well, Mano.
Oh yeah,
just
for sure.
Because I haven't had a chat with him in a while. I've been super dodgy of late, so need to touch base again.
He sent me that message while you were having those technical difficulties, and said that he just posted it up, the collaboration I did with him. So that he was actually online, but I think it's late there, so he might have
Well, maybe we can do a whole Aussie month, because we started with Trevor last week and now you, and then maybe I can reach out to him and be like, all right, let's do it. Let's do next Wednesday. I'm down. That would be awesome. Obviously, I'm a fan of his work, and I'm actually as much as I am a fan of his work, I'm a fan of the person that he is, because a lot of his life philosophy is something that I connect with, I relate with. And then when you see him talk about, I don't know if you saw this already, but he made an interview with David Pakman.
I was going to mention that. I really liked that.
I loved it. I said, because every single person that is on this platform right now can be sometimes so negative, especially because we're in a bear market right now.
I haven't found that myself yet.
You haven't found this video.
I haven't found the negativity.
You know what? Don't look at the trending pages there. Don't look at the trending pages there. You won't. Ignore them.
You don't want to get in on it, but it is there.
yeah, I'm sure it's there. Look,
but he's a force of good, man. He's a force of good. So I'm really a fan of.
Did you guys also catch his the price of Steam dropping?
Yes,
video?
That was great.
I thought that was brilliant. It's such an Aussie response. I don't care how long he's been out of the country. He's still an Aussie with that response.
I haven't seen it.
It's just every
Nathan,
Aussie slang for harden the fuck up, basically.
Yeah. Hey, so let me ask you this: How do you know Ben Lee? Like, did you guys tour together? Like, were you? Like,
no. Now this is interesting as well, because his wife's an actress, right? So, and a lot of my friends are actors, and I was living in LA with my ex-girlfriend who was a famous Aussie actress, and doing my music in LA while she was doing the acting stuff. And then another actor friend of mine said, "Hey, come over to do some chanting with Ben Lee." And so when
holy shit.
Yeah,
like, how could you turn that down though? Like, as an Aussie, totally. Just chanting with Ben Lee. Yep, that's.
It was a regular thing. I go over his place regularly, and we do spiritual Hindi style Sanskrit chanting, which I've done plenty of. I mean, I come from fucking Byron Bay. Now, for those that don't, outside Byron Bay is like the alternate culture spiritual.
The hippie central.
Yeah, and so we do a lot of sort of Sanskrit chanting and other kind of fun centering spiritual practices. But Yeah, but yeah. So I went. That's how I met him, and then he invited me. Him and his wife invited me and my girlfriend to just help them cook meals for homeless people, which they did once a month. And we cooked a heap of food, and we'd take it down to the homeless shelters. And he walks his talk. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Then he found out that I was involved in ayahuasca, and he wanted to get involved, and he was making an album about it. And just like, we stayed connected over the years.
That's awesome, man.
No,
Well,
it's
I'm really
really
happy. I'm
awesome.
really happy he convinced you to get on this platform, man. You have the right mindset. You bring not only your talent, but you bring also that spirit of yours. That it's contagious. It's inspiring to a lot of people. I keep on seeing Melody saying, stop inspiring me. It's 4 a.m. But that's what this platform needs, for all the artists is to feel pumped. Bentley is also talking about this on his video. He's saying you create because you create. That's what you are. That's what you were
Exactly.
meant to do. That's who I usually don't cuss, but I'm trying to relay this message strongly. Who gives a fuck of the price of steam? Like when you were on Facebook or you were on SoundCloud and you were putting all those songs and you were creating those
Got
forums,
nothing.
you got nothing. So right now, you know what you do? So you buckle up and you keep on creating, you keep on making songs, you keep on having fun, and we're gonna wait it out, and it's gonna turn around because it will. But to say, oh, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do like right now. I'm not gonna write songs. I'm not gonna because the price of steam is down. It's not worth it for me. That's the wrong attitude to have. It's completely wrong. And
No.
some people are having it, and it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it to a number of people because I've been going out and hearing other music on the open mic, especially I mean, every week I've been doing it, but it was good to take a break from it for a week so I could just listen to what other people are doing. And I take what you guys, the recommendations and the top and honorable mentions, and I go and listen to those, and I'll comment and all that kind of stuff. And some of this stuff is, I'll say pretty much what you just said, which is you just got to do it because you want to share. Like someone commented yesterday, I'm trying to remember who it was, Steve, I think, saying, on the top winners for the week 75, saying, there's a lot of, I hope you don't forget about us bedroom musicians. And I was like, dude, I mean, because we all look through different filters, right? But all the preceding weeks, it's been bedroom musicians beating us professional musicians, because you guys aren't. If anything, you're biased towards the bedroom musician than the professional musician. And I was like, don't worry. This is really not about whether you're pro or you're amateur or you're this or you're that. It doesn't matter about the money. Because that was the other thing, is that I'm seeing the bedroom musicians earning far more than a lot of the professional musicians on Steam. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You're sharing your music and you're meeting new people and you're making connections. And that is what's really about what it's about, what I think it's about.
100%. And the whole thing about making it and all this stuff, first of all, that thing, the idea of making it, it's bullshit. Everybody should delete that from their heads. I shared a story. You never heard this story because we haven't talked about this. But I met one time, and actually I became friends with him, with a really, really famous and successful guitar player. He plays for a band called Maná. It's one of the biggest rock bands in the Hispanic community, like huge, like fills stadiums and stadiums. But the dude is super humble, very nice guy, and he used to come to my store. I used to be a store manager for Guitar Center for years. And so we would chat a little bit, and of course, because I was one of the managers, I would be the one to help him out, prices and all that stuff. And one day I felt the confidence, or I felt comfortable enough to ask him a question because of this sort, because it's something you normally don't ask. I said to him, "Hey, Sergio, that's his name." I said, "Sergio, if you don't mind me asking, how does it feel to make it?" And I'm coming, of course, from a place that I put out 3 albums myself. I've done the touring. I've gotten burned. I've had that experience, and I always thought that it was some sort of place I was going to reach if I kept going at it. And so I'm asking him because I almost thirst for the answer. What does it mean to make it? He looks at me with the sincerity that you cannot emulate. He says to me, "I still don't know." And that's
an artistic thing rather than a business thing. But yeah, that's an art. you should always be striving for, growing and expanding as an artist and as a musician or whatever it is you're pursuing.
Exactly, yeah, because it's not a money thing. It's not. It's
no.
you always as a creator, right? It's not just about the money. I mean, you need it.
Contradict what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
Not to contradict what I just said or what you just said, but I think one of the beautiful things about this platform is that musicians are getting some form of remuneration.
Of course,
it's an important form of external validation. The first validation and the most important validation needs to be from within. Did I enjoy making this song?
exactly.
Do I enjoy sharing it? Then the next form of validation is other people going, wow, this touched me and thank you, or this made me laugh, or this made me move, That's the next form that is really important. And then the other form is that I need to fucking feed my kids and I need to keep a roof over their head, so I need to be paid for this.
Yeah.
And that's also an important and valid thing. They're all valid, and I don't want to get what I said earlier to be a thing about being anti-money. I'm only anti-money in what we were talking about the other day that descended into a political rant about capitalism. But
yeah,
but I'm not. I'm a businessman as well, like with my music, and I've had good times, as in successful, moderately successful. Not like Ben Lee, who he was a massive artist over here in Australia.
for sure.
But I got a bit of Triple J Play, which is the biggest radio network in Australia. I got that kind. I got a little bit of it, but really, what made me
you got the taste, but not the full blown effects.
No, and not that I didn't want it. I did turn down some major label stuff at a couple of different points in my life because it just wasn't right at the time.
Yeah.
But and there's been a lot of struggle, and there's times when I thought, what the fuck was I thinking? Why didn't I take that? But without digressing, going back to the self-discipline thing, I carved out. We're living in the age of digital era. I carved out a touring live original music career. I didn't have to play covers, and I didn't get the massive radio play and all that kind of stuff. But I still had, over the vast majority of a couple of decades, I got to tour around the world. I got to tour around Australia. I got to meet thousands upon thousands of people. Sometimes I'd play to 20 people, and sometimes I'd play to 200, and sometimes I play to 2,000. And I've always said it doesn't matter if you're playing to 150, 1,500 or 15,000 people. You still need to put all your energy into it. You still need to
100%.
And you still need to keep bettering yourself. You still need to get better at what you do, and don't rest on any laurels or whatever it is. But it takes fucking discipline. I tell you what, it takes discipline to research all of the towns that you want to play at, to work out how to cost effectively go from town to town to town, country to country, town to town, and then find out what similar artists are playing in those towns, what venues they're playing at, and then get their contact details and fucking call them. Sure, send an email, but you're likely to get ignored. Call them, And I would do that and front up, just like I did with the acting and knocking on the agents' doors. You need to be out there actually doing it. You got to, as Will Smith would say, you got to, keep beating on your craft so you're really, really fucking good at what you do. But then you also got to get, have the discipline to see it as a business and put yourself out there and make it happen. I made tours happen over and over and over again. I mean, I had nobody behind me. It seemed like I did. People thought I had some awesome managers and fucking whatever. I was nobody. And I was getting festival gigs and all that kind of stuff, all off me just having a bit of, putting my ego aside and going, well, it's either doing this or going back into a fucking kitchen hand
to the chicken
job, right? And that shit again. So I was like, no fucking way. You got to pull your finger out and you got to make it happen.
That's one thing I keep on telling people about wanting things and wanting to want them. Because most people have this idea, like especially artists I've met in my life, like, and all artists. I'm not talking about specifically music. It's the one I know the most, but where they go like, oh, you know what, I, I, I would love to be able to record an album and all stuff and all that. It's like, and I would tell them, it's like, well, do you want to do it or do you want to? Because when you want to, it's like a pretty desire. Like, oh, I'm in love
It's a
with the
fancy.
idea. Yeah, I'm
I
in
do
love
the
with the
same thing.
idea.
I like yours. I like yours. You're saying, do you want to, or you want to? Because the way the words I use is, so is it that you just fancy it, or do you have to do it? Do
Yeah,
you fancy doing it because of what? Because it might bring you some adulation or Vegemite or something, or or do you, or do you
but do you need
actually?
to? Yeah,
It's even more than want. Do you need to? Do you have to do it?
yeah,
You
and
know?
that's I'm using the want like that because if we
I
think
get what
back
you're
of,
doing. I like it.
yeah, if we think
It's
back
like, do
of,
you like it or do you like it?
yeah,
Yeah.
like if you everything I ever wanted to do in my life, regardless of how hard it was, like, but if I really wanted it, I did it. And I think that might be true for everybody. Like when I'm talking about want, it's like this is what I need to do. Like some people could be skating, some people could be, I don't know, like coding, something that you want it. You're like, okay, it's a hard climb, but I want it. It's mine. You get it.
That's exactly what my song "Wings" is about. Find the thing that gives you wings to fly high in life.
I love that one.
Yeah, that was a
and
great song.
and it's not, and you know, I say find the thing, but actually it's more than that, isn't it? It's we can be passionate with one thing. And I've already in this conversation, I'm really passionate about acting. I'm really passionate about music. I used to be super passionate about dancing, and I've always been passionate about martial arts. I have my own secret passion of drawing portraits. That's my own little thing. We're multidimensional. We have many facets that make us who we are. We're not one-dimensional. And whilst one thing may take over and be our most, it might be the thing that ends up, bringing in money, from a passion. You start with one thing. That's why I start with that song. I say, find the thing that gives you wings to fly high in life. Then it will grow because, some people might like gardening. I certainly do. I love growing my own veggies and showing the girls where their food comes from. Some people like, I don't know, fixing the S-bends in plumbing. It's not my cup of tea, but
we might be having some audio issues according to Code.
Okay. Anyway, you know what? I've got to go. I've got to pick up one of my girls from school. I'm going to be late.
Oh wow. Well, we're gonna call this episode done for. I'm gonna do a lot of chopping, but anyways, my brother, it was awesome having you. Thank you so much for doing this with me. Hopefully we can do it again. Hopefully next time we won't have so many issues, technical issues, and it won't require all this editing. But the conversation was amazing, and the songs were awesome. So anybody who is here,
we talk so much we only got 2 songs in.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. But I suspected that was gonna happen. By the way, I really did. So, anyways, just for the recording, I'm not actually gonna disconnect. Thank you for listening. If you are listening in a recording, we do this on MSP every single Wednesday night. It's gonna be at currently it's actually 10 p.m. because of the time change. But the easiest way to do it is go to mspwaves.com, and there's a schedule there. It's all done in UTC, so everybody can do it. It's really simple to figure out what is your time zone. And that is it going to be for me. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Nathan, for coming. Thank you, Crystal, for
co-hosting. Can I just give another plug to the collab? I've just popped it up again, the link. If you guys can give it some love, that'd be so awesome.
Of course I will. I'm going to give it some love and some re-steams.
Absolutely.
Hi, my brother.
Thanks for having me, guys. I love you guys. You just make my, my world so much more beautiful. And and all you crew out there. It's really fun getting to know everybody out there. I love you, man. Thanks,
All right, my brother. Well, this is Menno signing off.
Go get my girl from school.
All right.
Lots of love. See you later.
Have a good one, mate.